can you imagine the person leading the investigation into a murder is actually the murderer? It sounds like something out of a movie, but that is the chilling reality at the heart of the case we're breaking down today, the murder of Jesse Valencia.
So it all kicks off on a Saturday afternoon in Columbia, Missouri. You got this college student, he's heading out for a weekend trip, and he sees something weird in a patch of grass near his apartment. It's a young guy wearing just running shorts, lying totally still. Now, at first, he figures it's just another student who partied a little too hard. But as he gets closer, he sees the flies, and he knows something is terribly, terribly wrong.
The victim is identified pretty quickly. It's Jesse Valencia, a 23-year-old pre-law and journalism student at the University of Missouri. By all accounts, he was outgoing, had a ton of friends, just full of life. So the immediate question is, who on earth would want to kill him so violently?
When Detective John Short gets to the scene, something just feels off. Right from the start, the clues aren't adding up, and they're painting a really confusing and contradictory picture.
Okay, so check this out, because this is where things get really strange. The medical examiner finds that Jesse's throat had been cut. I mean, a deeply violent and personal way to kill someone. But here's the thing, his hands were clean. No cuts, no scrapes, absolutely no defensive wounds. How is that possible? How could someone not fight back? Well, the hemorrhaging in his eyes told the story. The theory was just chilling. The killer had choked Jesse until he was unconscious first, and then delivered the fatal cut when he was completely defenseless.
The investigation gets what seems like an early break. A local beat cop who patrols that exact neighborhood, an Officer Steven Rios, is called to the scene. He takes one look at the body and he knows him. He calmly identifies the victim as a college kid named Jesse Valencia, someone he'd actually arrested a few months earlier at a party.
To find a killer, you really have to dive into the victim's world. For the detectives, this meant piecing together Jesse's last 24 hours, which turned out to be this whirlwind of a new romance and some pretty serious lingering heartbreak.
So Jesse's night actually started with a lot of hope. He'd just met this new guy, Ed McDevitt, and he was really excited about it. But the night kind of soured. Ed wasn't at a party where they were supposed to meet up, and a lonely Jesse started to spiral. He started making all these desperate calls to his ex, Jack Barry, even showing up at his door. But Jack never answered. Jesse eventually gets home, alone, around 3:45 in the morning, and that's when he got another visitor.
So based on that timeline, the detectives pretty quickly had 3 people they wanted to talk to. 3 people who could have been with Jesse in those final crucial moments.
First up, you've got Jack Barry, the ex-boyfriend. I mean, he was getting these harassing calls from Jesse in the middle of the night, and his alibi was that he was home alone, which you just can't verify. Then there was Ed McDevitt, the new guy. He was with Jesse until about 3 a.m. and seemed like a total emotional wreck when the police questioned him. And finally, you had Ed's roommate, Mark Butler. This guy openly said he didn't like Jesse, he had a criminal record, and he had no alibi for the time of the murder.
But here's the problem. Detectives hit a brick wall. A jilted ex, a nervous new boyfriend, a hostile roommate. Honestly, the motives just felt weak. They didn't feel big enough for this level of brutal violence. The trail was going cold, and it was going cold fast. And then, just when it seemed like the case was at a complete dead end, a single phone call from a friend in St. Louis just blew it wide open.
A friend of Jesse's calls the police, and he tells them he has a whole bunch of online chat logs. And these logs proved that Jesse was having a secret affair. And not just with anybody. It was with a married police officer from the Columbia PD.
And this quote right here, this is everything. It illustrates a brand new and much more powerful motive. In these chats, Jesse tells his friend he just found out the cop was married, and he was absolutely furious. He literally wrote, "I'm not going to be someone's other woman." He was threatening to expose the whole affair. And suddenly, police had a powerful motive staring them in the face, blackmail, and a suspect who had everything to lose, his job, his family, his entire life.
So here's the new problem. Jesse never actually used the officer's real name in the chats, so Detective Short is now facing this impossible task. He has to investigate his own department, knowing full well that the killer could be watching his every single move.
The entire investigation turned inward, and the answer, as it turns out, had been right there, hiding in plain sight, from the very beginning.
Detective Short found out that Jesse had been arrested at that party a few months back by an officer, Brad Anderson. So he pulls Anderson aside to ask him a few questions, and he shows him a photo of Jesse. And as they're talking, Anderson's partner walks by.
And that partner was Officer Steven Rios. Seeing the picture of Jesse, he just blurts out this shocking, off-color joke to Anderson. He says, "Oh, looks like your gay lover's dead." I mean, it was a horrible thing to say, But for Detective Short, a light bulb didn't just go off, it exploded. How could Rios possibly know that Jesse was gay? No one at the department knew that.
And just as Short is trying to process this, another witness walks into the station. It's a friend of Jesse's named Andy Schermerhorn. And he tells police about a threesome he'd had just weeks before with Jesse and a uniformed police officer. The problem was, he didn't know the officer's name.
But then, the witness says something that seals Rios's fate. He says that as he was being led into the interview room, he saw that exact same officer standing in the hallway of the police station. And it was Steven Rios, the very same cop who had stood over Jesse's body and identified him.
And just like that, the whole horrific picture snapped into focus. Rios, the married cop, was the secret lover. When Jesse found out and threatened to expose him, Rios panicked. He chased Jesse down, he silenced him forever, and then he committed the ultimate act of deception. He returned to the crime scene not as a killer, but as a cop, to identify his own victim.
Steven Rios was arrested and put on trial. After an appeal and then a second trial, he was finally convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life behind bars. A secret affair that ended in a life sentence.
It is such a chilling case, and it really forces you to ask, how can a single secret, one that's meant to protect one person's life, end up completely destroying so many? It's just a devastating reminder that sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones we try to live.